Hi,
Hi,
Jim.
Alanna. Hi there. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Still a bit nervous with this social media stuff.
I
Still
know
trying to
it
get
can
my
be
camera lined up.
daunting when you're starting. No, I agree. And
It,
then we love the old technology glitches when they happen, but
yeah, no, absolutely.
to go here.
Yeah, I'm still very much a social media novice. Absolutely.
Oh, well, should we
Uh,
all are? And with the advances between social media and AI and everything else, there's a million different ways of doing these things, but we'll figure it out as we go. Isn't that it?
we will, of course. We will, of course. I did a live there last month with a local estate agent here, and that went really well. We had great feedback as well, and I think there was some really useful information for people. So yes, I'm hoping we can do something similar today. You're obviously coming from a slightly different angle,
Hmm.
having been an estate agent in the past, and now you're more involved in finding property for people. So yeah, I think our viewers, a lot of them who are mortgage approved and really just struggling to find a property, I think will definitely benefit from your experience and what you have to say. So I think first of all, I was just going to do a quick introduction. So I'll introduce MortgageLine first of all, and then tell us a bit about yourself and Eldron.
Sure, no
And
problem at all.
then maybe we'll just ask each other a few questions. Is that okay
Sounds
with
good. Yeah,
you? Yeah, okay. So I think we've gone past 1 o'clock now. So hopefully we'll get more people joining. But I think we'll kick off. I know I'm busy, I'm sure you're busy, so we'll try to keep it to the 30 minutes.
perfect.
And people probably don't want to listen to us for much longer than that anyway.
And they can always watch it back
They
anyway.
can,
Yeah.
absolutely. They can watch the recording later on. Absolutely. So, yeah, so I'm Stephen Hamilton from MortgageLine. We set up MortgageLine 20 years ago now. It does not seem like 20 years ago. It's been a fast 20 years. A lot has happened, but it's went very quickly. So, we're an independent mortgage broker. We deal with all the different Irish banks, and our job is to get people the best deal and not only help them with the mortgage, but also guide them through the process as well. It can be quite a stressful time buying your first home, switching your mortgage, moving home. So we've seen all before, seen the pitfalls, seen the experiences people have had, and we've learned from them, and can hopefully share those experiences with people. So so we're here to get people the best deal and guide them through the process. And we've got a team of mortgage brokers, support staff, all of whom are very experienced and are here to help. And yeah, we love people. We love helping people with mortgages, and that's us. So, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, then,
Yeah,
Alan,
sure.
and what you do?
Um, so obviously my name is Alanna. I'm a senior buyer's agent here with Eldron Property Consultants. The whole idea of buyer's agents in Ireland is still a relatively new concept. So it's extremely popular. The vast majority of people buying or selling will be represented by a selling or buyer's agent, say in the likes of America, Australia, some parts of Europe, but it is still a relatively new concept here in Ireland. So predominantly what we do is we obviously, when somebody is selling a property, they are represented by an estate agent. But if somebody is trying to buy a property, they're ultimately on their own. So obviously, they have support from mortgage brokers, but that's on the finance side.
Yeah.
And so the vast majority of good estate agents as well will support people with their purchase, but there's nobody dedicated to just helping somebody buy a property.
Yeah.
Whether it's an investment property or whether it's a first-time buyer looking to buy their first property, or it's a family that are looking to size up to a bigger property and they just don't know where to start. So essentially the main role of my job is to be an advocate for somebody trying to buy a property.
Yeah.
And it's very much so a bespoke service. So it isn't a one fits all. It could be a small investor. Now, I'm not talking about the big, huge investors coming in here buying 70 houses in a housing estate. We're talking about a small landlord buying 1 to 2 properties, which is what is desperately needed in the market right now, because I don't know if you've gone out to try and rent a house recently, but there are so many landlords leaving that we actually need the small landlords coming back in. So we would represent, say, smaller investors looking to buy maybe 2, 3 properties in their pension fund or with their savings or setting them up for retirement. I'd work with quite a large number, surprisingly quite a large number of first-time buyers who are mortgage approved, have decent budgets to buy. Technically, there shouldn't be a blocker to them purchasing if they have the money required for the market rates at the moment. But what's happening is they're either inexperienced or just get completely overwhelmed with the whole setup. So we'd represent them. Also,
yeah, I think that it's something that's people have been crying out for really here, especially in the last year or two with the shortage of properties. I know, yeah, we've hundreds of customers who are mortgage approved and are looking for a property. You would imagine the majority of them will eventually find the property, but sure, using the services of someone like yourself would make it easier for them.
And it's not necessarily always about sourcing the property. I mean, we do go out and find properties for people who they mightn't necessarily have the time to sit on My Home or Daft, and that's not really what we do either. We do a lot of work behind the scenes as well. But a lot of the time it can actually just be somebody who being there for somebody as an advocate. So doing the communication, setting up their viewings, doing all the communication with the estate agents, with their mortgage broker, helping them with their solicitor and the conveyancing side of it. It's really no different as to what you do in one sense, where I could go directly to AIB and get a mortgage. But if I don't know what I'm doing, that process is going to be extremely difficult. So why wouldn't I use the services of a mortgage broker who's doing it day to day?
So are they going to be able to negotiate the price? Are they going to be able to deal with the estate? So those are the things you take over.
Exactly. And there's a big part of, and this is going back, I suppose, to the selling days, because obviously I was selling a huge amount of properties all across Dublin for many years as well. So there's that aspect to it. It's not always the highest offer that secures a property, and a lot of people don't realise that. Obviously, there's a bidding system in place, but ultimately the estate agent will give all of the information to the seller and they will make the decision. So a lot of the time you could be the highest bidder, but not necessarily the most secure buyer. And that can be a huge element to that as well, as can be how somebody communicates with an estate agent. So you have to set, and that's one bit of advice I would have always given people when they're trying to buy on their own. Get to know your local estate agents. Get to know, if you want to buy in Tala, get to know the guys in Ray Cook, get to know the guys in D&G, get to know Tom Marr, get to know Sherry Fitzgerald. You need to know those agents so that you're meeting them and they have confidence in you as a purchaser as well, because unfortunately the way the market is right now, there are far more purchasers than there are properties for sale.
You need to give yourself every edge, really. So if you know the estate agent and and
a lot of confidence,
you're more likely to get the property.
It is, I mean, it can come down to whoever. Look, it's all going to come down to the seller's preference as well. The vendor ultimately makes the decision, not the estate agent. The estate agent supplies all of that information to the vendor, and the vendor will instruct them as to who they want to purchase the property. But there is a big aspect of that, and a huge part of it is just being an advocate. I work with clients that may potentially only need help with the communication side of a purchase. Or I work with clients who will never actually step foot in a property until the day they get the keys. So a huge amount of my clients as well are overseas. So they may be potentially in Australia, or they could be in Europe, or I have a lot of people in Dubai, places like that are moving home, and they're moving home with their families, and they don't want to move back to rented accommodation. They want to move back to ultimately their family home, potentially their forever home. So we do a huge amount from that point of view as to actually going out, sourcing them, viewing them on their behalf, bidding, negotiating, securing them, and then taking them through the legal. Because obviously, once you actually secure the property, that's really when the hard work starts, because that's when you have to start entering into the legal conveyancing side of it, which that in itself is a minefield. That could be a good option for you actually for another live, is to get a solicitor on, because
that's exactly what I'm thinking of for the next one, to be honest. Because it's something people need so much help with, and something they need to prepare themselves for. You know yourself, the legal process in Ireland is a very slow and cumbersome process.
System at this stage,
Fortunately, there's not much of it digitalized, so everything is paperwork. You have to sign this. You're waiting on the seller's solicitor getting back to you with something. Properties can be put on the market, and
ultimately having somebody.
There's a lot of issues that can come up.
But having somebody in your corner there where they can come and ask, well, what do I do here?
Yeah.
What needs to happen here? What's your advice here? And obviously there's the legal side of it, but then there's the other, just the pure purchasing side of it as well. So ultimately we're just there to guide and advise throughout the whole process.
Yeah, brilliant. And if there was like 3 or 5 main tips you would give to first-time buyers looking for property, what kind of advice would you give them, Alanna?
You really need to, my main advice is that you need to try and narrow down what it is that you're searching for. So you need to look at your budget and see what you're approved up to. You don't necessarily want to be going to the very, very high end of your budget either, because at the end of the day, you buy your dream home, you still want to be able to live, you still want to be able to have a weekend away or a night out or go for dinner. You don't want to just be working to pay your mortgage.
Yeah.
So understand what is available for your budget. Now, with a lot of first-time buyers at the moment, they do have to move outside of the areas that they potentially want to buy in, which is a harsh reality in some sense. So if you were born in Knockline and you went to school in Knockline and you grew up in Knockline, you may not necessarily be able to afford to buy your first home in Knockline. So you need to branch out a little bit more. And that could look like maybe going further afield to your Fairhouse locations or Ballycullen, or even going further afield to Saggart or Rathcoole, and falling within areas where you have affordability for what it is that you want to purchase. So you need to know what it is you can afford and the areas that you can buy in that are your preference. I don't mean going across and looking at properties in Lusk in North County Dublin. It's not about going to where you can afford. It's about narrowing down the areas that you necessarily want to live in. The one bit of advice as well I would always give to anyone who is purchasing: don't buy a house for the house. Buy the house for the location. If it's a 3-bed semi-D that needs work, you can put the work into it, you can put an extension on the back of it, you can change it to suit your needs. But if it's in an area that you were dead set on, buy it for the area if you can. When I was selling, and a lot of the estate agents that I deal with on a daily basis as well, when I ask why is the vendor selling, they want to move closer to family, they want to move closer to the kids' schools, they want to move closer to their friends, to where the kids play soccer and GA, and they always say, I love my house, I wish I could move it.
It's so important for people like to be close to family, be close to parents, and as you say, it is important to get that decision right. It may not be a perfect location, but I suppose you just have to work out what your budget is, and know what you can afford, and then work out where the area is that you can afford to buy.
And do your research as well, because you find a lot of people, like, essentially it's a bit crazy when you think about it, because somebody will go in to view a property on a Saturday morning and they might get 15 minutes to view that property, and they walk away and an hour later they put an offer on that property. If you were going to buy a new car, you'll probably test drive the car and you'll go home and you'll him and haw about it for maybe 4 or 5 days before you'd even consider ringing them back to get more information on it. But with a house, you literally go in, you view it for 15 minutes, and that's the way it is right now, where the viewings are, you know, they're short, they're concise, and potentially there is no second viewing. You have to get an offer in or you miss out on the property. So do your research, know your area. So say, for example, if you're buying in Fairhouse, go up on a Saturday morning and see what the area is like. Go up at 8:30 on a Monday morning and see what the school traffic and work traffic rush is like. Go up in the evening time and see, are you happy with the way the traffic, or is there congestion or bus routes? Do your research outside of the viewing times. I'd always recommend people spend a weekend in an area, go for dinner in various different restaurants, cafes, understand the area that it is. But then also, when you're in viewing the house, people can get very distracted. If a house is presented in a very cosmetic friendly way, as in it has new carpets and it's been freshly painted and there's a nice throw on the couch, it's amazing what that can do to people's mindset when they're bidding. Whereas the house next door that potentially needs carpets and floors and hasn't been painted goes up and doesn't have half the amount of viewers going in looking at it, because it's not as aesthetically pleasing. The two houses are going to be like for like, just one has had probably a few thousand pumped into it from an aesthetic point of view. So look at the bones
look,
of a house.
look beyond the paint, and the smell of the oven. You
Yeah,
have a look.
exactly. Yeah, always bake the cookies before you put the house on the market for the open viewing. Yeah, there is. And look, some people, again, that's where we kind of step in. Some people can't see past cosmetic work. Some people can't see past the house that doesn't have the extension over the house that does. And it could be a matter of choice as well. Some people may not want to have to do that work, and that's absolutely fine. But it's to really understand what it is that you want and not to get carried away with the bidding. Set yourself a limit. If your budget is 450,000, don't go past the 450,000, because it's very easy to say, I'll just get another 2,000 or another 2,000. But before you know it, you could have gone 10 grand over your budget, and that 10 grand you needed for 2 new bathrooms or carpets or floors is gone. So be very strict with it. Is very, I see it every day. It's very easy to get carried away when you're bidding, because it's exciting. It can be overwhelming. It can be terrifying for some people putting offers on houses. So just know what your budget is and stick to it. And also, I'd always advise, if you can, bring somebody with you to a viewing, not necessarily a builder or surveyor or anything like that. You're going to be getting your surveys done, but just bring somebody that has an impartial view. Maybe not necessarily the mother or the mother-in-law, because they tend to have a lot of opinions when it comes to it. But if it's a family friend or somebody who maybe lives local to the area, it's always good to have somebody there with an impartial view when looking at it, because you could have your heart and soul set on a property and not see maybe some of the red flags or issues if there were some.
Maybe even someone bought a property before who it's fresh in their head.
Yeah.
Realize some slight mistakes that they made. They'll be able to advise.
Hindsight is the great thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we all had the benefit of hindsight, we'd be laughing, right? But that's something we always say to people when they're getting, well, like, people come to us and they're very worried, will I be able to afford to buy in this area, buy in that area? Really, all you can do is control what you can. So
exactly,
for the max mortgage we can, then you really just have to, as you're saying, do your research, find out what's possible. Yeah, and don't worry about what's not possible, because you can't control that.
And also, as you were saying, you pointed out there as well, just controlling the controllables. So before you go and view a property, have your solicitor lined up, have your surveyor ready to go, so that when you do find a property you want to offer on and you do have a chance to potentially secure that, you can put your best foot forward. So you can go to the estate agent and say, right, we want to place an offer on X property. This is our solicitor, this is our surveyor. We are ready to go. Here's our proof of funds. Here's our proof of deposit. Because all of that is going to help in turn build that picture as to them being quite a positive buyer. In your opinion, how long?
Those when you're talking to an estate agent as well, if you know when you have your solicitor organised, and you have your ducks in a row, you've got your mortgage.
It removes any doubt.
Yeah.
It removes any doubt and makes them a credible buyer. How long at the moment, because I'm obviously working with a good few first-time buyers at the moment, how long on average is it taking for buyers to get approval at the moment?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those questions, how long is a piece of...
Yeah. It's like when somebody asks me, how long does it take to buy a house? Well,
I'll try and give you an answer as best I can. So with some banks, they're really quick. So you've got Avant Money, for example, they're really quick, really efficient. And if your mortgage application is fully packaged, give them everything they need, your mortgage in 3 to 4 days, which is very quick by the standards here. Other banks can unfortunately take 3 to 4 weeks or longer if there's a bit of to and back and forward between the bank. So again, really control what you can control. What you can control when making a mortgage application, make sure you give the broker all the information they need. Make sure if they ask you for a document, get it back as quickly as possible. So you can control that process. You can't control a lot. So control what you can control. Again, the best thing you can do is use a mortgage broker, because they will know which bank. If you need a really quick decision, most people, to be honest, don't properly when they're looking for the mortgage. So 3 to 4 weeks to get mortgage approval is not really an issue.
Yeah.
And what we always do is we fully underwrite your mortgage application once we have all your information. So we can pretty much 90% approve your here house. We then have to go off and get the bank. That weeks, but 99 we'll know right up front if you're going to get the mortgage you need, or we'll be able to get quickly. Well, listen, this is what's possible, this is what's not. So really pretty much very quickly after speaking to what's possible and what's not for you.
Yeah, and then they have a good, but I mean that then sets it up as to them going out to actually start looking for the properties that they want to look for.
Yeah.
I know with anyone that comes to me, and I would do a huge amount of consultation calls with people that are looking to buy. They may not necessarily use a buyer's agent, but I would do calls just to give people advice or support. And the number one thing I'd always say to them is go to get a mortgage broker, because the vast majority, I don't know, do you charge your clients fees for the broker service, or does it come via the banks?
Yes, it's a mixture of both. I think Irish mortgage market got some brokers that charge a fee, some brokers that don't. We do charge a small application fee at the start of the process, so we meet and then we get all the documents and get your full application, come back to you, make a recommendation as to what we feel is the best mortgage lender for you, the max loan amount, etc. And if you're that recommendation, then we ask you for a fee of 195. And for that 195, stick with you as long as it takes, be that 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 8, however long it takes you to find a property. One person today, and it's 3 years, she initially contacted me, and she's had a few properties fall through. So with that, we stick with you as long as it takes. Get your mortgage reapproved if it goes out of date. In the future, after you find your dream home and you move in 2 to 3 years, if you need to get a better deal on your mortgage, we will do that free of charge. So 195 fee is one we charge at the start of the process. Not the main way. We're relying solely on 195 fee. Be out of business long ago. So the main way we get paid from all the banks we introduce to give a commission 1%. So we're paid the same from all the banks. So there's no preference for us, this bank or that.
Which is good as well, because people always want independent advice, and I think that's the big thing, where it's not like you go to, say, your own bank direct and they're shoving various different deals down your neck. You know it's because it's benefiting them, whereas for you it is very much so you can give the advice as to what you feel is the best. And that's, I suppose, very similar to what we do as well, where we work off a fixed fee now. We don't have set rate fees. Every fee is different depending on what service people require, but we're not driven to get them to buy the most expensive house or the cheapest house. It's what is required and fits the needs of the client at that time, whether they're an investor or home buyer. We've seen a huge amount as well that we're now, obviously it's a little bit different from the mortgage side, where we're now branching out, where we're actually doing rental assistance. So for people that are struggling to rent properties in Dublin, so whether you may be moving over to join with a company and you're, for example, I had a guy who moved over from Sweden 2 weeks ago, could not get a response to anyone in terms of trying to rent property. So we went out and sourced a property. But he's the perfect example. He would probably come back in 2 to 3 years ready to buy a property. Yeah. And in turn, then that's where we'd be saying you need to go out and speak with a mortgage advisor. I'm sure I'll be getting some referrals over to you as well over the next few weeks. But that's, people don't, I think they don't realise that mortgage advisors are there and they're independent, and the advice is there to actually assist people going over. Because to be honest with you, like anything, a good mortgage broker and a good solicitor can be the make or break of a purchase. Yeah. So it's a very important aspect when you are thinking about whether it's buying a first-time buyer home or an investment property. It is a crucial decision that you need to make.
It's so important to get good advice. Even recently, was coming to us after having first their own bank. A lot of people now going to their own bank. Their own bank is trying to maybe a medium, long-term fixed rate on them. People are savvy that moment with rates on a deck, which you're better really with a short rate. So yeah, we have who've been to the bank, maybe best advice and have come to us, looking for better advice.
And what about people that are thinking about, say, for example, if there's somebody who has the mortgage in their house, very happy, we're thinking about switching their mortgage?
Yeah, so that's a really important thing to do. So, like a lot of people switch their electric or gas bill every year or two.
They don't think about doing the mortgage. They think it's too much work or hassle.
Yeah, and it's really not. Banks now, they have really improved the switching process a lot. So if you're looking to switch your mortgage, if you've kept that, you're an attractive, you're attractive proposition bank for them to know you've a good track mortgage. So for you as a mortgage holder, getting saving half interest rate, that can be hundreds per month that you're saving, thousands per year. So it's really important to shop every 3 to 5 years. Sure, you're getting the best on your mortgage. And a lot of people, especially, would have, when they were first-time buyers and they originally bought their property with cashback deals, banks, they would be rolling high fixed and variable rates. So it's really important for them shop around with rate, because there are better deals out there. There are new entrants to the market, and Moco has come in recently. So all these banks,
not just your mainstream lenders anymore, because there was a time when people would think, right, we have to go get a mortgage, off we go down to permanent TSB and we go in and meet them, or into AIB. Whereas it's so difficult now to even lodge money into a bank, let alone sit down with somebody on a face-to-face. What's your I'm curious. I'd obviously have different conversations with various different people involved in property. What's your opinion on, say, like the likes of the Help to Buy or the First Home Equity Scheme, those kind of, where they're offering people assistance to go out and purchase?
Yeah, I think the downside of them, they're only for new property and to get new property. But listen, if you can find property and completely make it there, you could make use of it. Especially, I suppose I'd kind of tier their importance. The whole buy, first of all, is very important. Literally just a rebate of tax, 30,000 towards a new property. It's just a refund of tax you've already paid for 4 years. So if you qualify for the buy property, up. Next is the First Equity Scheme. The government will take a percent on your property, and the purpose of it is to bridge the affordability gap. What you can afford in terms of a mortgage deposit, the property is maybe 1,000 more, and you can't afford that. Then the First Home Equity Scheme is a very. However, if you can't afford it, you really stay away from the First Home Equity Scheme. It's just for people that are looking to bridge that affordability gap in or giving up an equity. There are schemes. So, for example, there's the vacant property grant. So property that hasn't been lived in, it is possible to get a grant towards doing that property up.
And those ones as well, I mean, it's one thing that people shy away from because they're scared of taking on a property that may have been vacant for that level of time. But those properties are usually the ones that are easier to secure. Not to call them the low-hanging fruit, but they are the ones that people shy away from. So if you have the courage and you've obviously backed by the grant, you can actually create amazing properties, whether it's investment or forever home properties, with a little bit of TLC and a little bit of work. But I suppose you have to be mentally prepared to take on the challenge as well. Not everyone is.
Yeah, and it is a stressful process. I'm not sure if you ever done it yourself before, but yeah, buying total renovation, it is. But listen, get a house that you've designed yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for it.
A lot to be said.
We went down the route of a self-build ourselves, and I feel that aged me probably about 15 years. It's something that it's fantastic to do because you do get to, as you said, you get to create the house that you really, really want. But it's not for the faint-hearted. It was tricky. Would I do it again? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is.
Brothers, they've all built houses right beside my parents, and oh my God, they've got Dallas type houses, built fabulous houses, but like half what I would have paid for my house.
Yeah.
very jealous when I go down and see their house.
No, it is. But you know what? I mean, it's no different to those, say somebody do it like that, going after a house that does need more work. And like that with anything. So you can have your mortgage broker who can give you the assistance with the finance side of it. You can use a buyer's agent to help you with the buying. If you do undertake a project like that, you can bring in your surveyors, you can bring in your architects, you can bring in your consultants. So it's not for somebody to shy away from if they are not finding what they want going down the mainstream route. It's definitely worth looking into those other sides of it. And again, then using a broker to actually be able to give you the information to be able to have access to these grants, because it can result in huge savings.
Very valuable. I mean, again, my scheme, it's 50,000 that you're getting put into the house. You just money that the government is giving.
Yeah. Now, the only downside, and I can see it from both points of view, because it's brilliant when you have access to all of these different schemes to be able to, for people to go out and be able to buy properties. But the long term, I suppose they're all coming out, like all these schemes are coming out to be able to help people to buy properties. But the bigger issue is that there's not enough properties there for people to buy at the moment. So ultimately, the government are giving that extra funding to allow people to be able to meet the affordability to buy them, but it's not creating the supply and demand. It's not creating the huge demand.
Is it like integrated supply, and is it actually increasing prices? So, and it is increasing people's buying power. So,
yeah, essentially, when
government, though, I mean, what can increase the supply? I'm not sure I have any myself.
I was only having a conversation with somebody this morning around where they are looking at trying to pull more and more builders away from the commercial side of it to start building more residential. But I think that at the rate they're building them, it's not going to fix the supply and demand issue. You or I aren't going to be able to fix the supply or demand issue, but I suppose the one thing we can do is you can help from the finance side and I can help from the buying side, so that people do actually get to secure properties.
Yeah.
But the other thing to note as well for people is, like, people that are living in Dublin, not to shy away from areas outside of Dublin. I myself moved to Dublin to Kildare, and I'm not going to lie, you couldn't pay me to move back to Dublin. I'm still in Dublin in 15-20 minutes, and I'm just outside of it, and it was far more affordable to look just outside of, say, your Rathfarnhams, your Temple Oaks, your Knocklines.
Yeah.
It did make a difference. So it's and I suppose from your point of view as well as mortgage brokers, a big thing for any potential clients of yours to note is, I assume you can take clients on from anywhere in Ireland. You don't necessarily have to be in Dublin, because it's all done via email, remote, like this, over Zoom calls.
That's one of the benefits of COVID.
Yeah.
Mortgage brokers is for every type of business. Just deal with people from anywhere. Yeah, we deal with customers in Hong Kong who are buying a property in Ireland. So it's just the same as the person that's living in. Rarely meet people face to face.
Yeah, that's it.
It's all kind of online. But listen, it's more convenient for people. Truth be told, it's more convenient for us as well. And
it saves time and money as well, because you can do far more consultation calls in a 2-hour time frame when you're doing them over Zoom than you can if you were to do them face to face. So
absolutely. Anyway, I'm going to wrap things up.
Yeah, we've hit the 30 minutes.
But yeah, I appreciate you today. I think there's given there for our viewers, and I hope people got some. But
if there's any follow-up questions or anything, you have all my details, and I'll be sure to send some clients your way as well.
Absolutely. And if anyone that's watching has any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. We'll be really happy.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Talk
Bye-bye.
Bye now.